The new Springfield Armory Emissary Commander in 9mm. Let's check it out. 1911's been around since 1911 and served the U.S. military up until 1985. In all the major wars, it proved itself to be an excellent combat sidearm. And it's as popular today as it ever has been. One of the caveats, though, is the most popular caliber for 1911 is now 9mm instead of 45 ACP. Just a little bit softer shooting, you get a few more rounds, and it's just a pleasure to take to the range. And 9mm has really stepped it up for their self-defense loads. Now today we're going to be taking a look at the Emissary. Now they've already put out the 45 ACP Emissary, and if you're a 45 guy, we're going to take a look at that one as well and compare it to the Commander version in 9mm. But this is new from Springfield Armory. It's a very thin handgun. A lot of that has to do with these super thin grips, but there's a lot of upgrades over the standard 1911. But the Emissary has taken it up a few notches, and it brings that old warhorse into a modern pistol that is excellent for self-defense, and yet has a lot of custom features to it that make 1911s so desirable. And we really appreciate Springfield Armory for sending the Emissary in 9mm Commander version. It gives us a chance to be able to show you guys something when it first comes out. But again, we're going to compare this to the full-size 45 version in case 45 is the caliber that you like. The Springfield Armory Emissary. This is in the Commander length, which means it has a 4.25-inch barrel, a little bit shorter slide than your government, but yet it has a full-size grip. The bluing is so nice on this that it almost looks stainless. But the bluing again is just gorgeous. But as you can see, it is a two-tone finish with a stainless steel frame and then a carbon steel slide. These are both forged. A lot of companies make castings, and the castings, they're just not quite as up to par as your forged, especially with the heat treating that goes into these. Just makes them easier to mill, makes them easier to cut. It's more uniform, and so forging is definitely a big upgrade. And then also the barrel, which is again a 4.25-inch barrel. It is a bull barrel, and you can see that it comes all the way and mates up to the slide. And we'll take a better look at that in a minute. But it is stainless steel as well. Now this is a full steel gun. It's not a aluminum frame. It's not a polymer frame for sure. But it gives it a lot of heft, and out at the range, it makes it just a real pleasure to shoot. Let's go ahead and drop our magazine. We have 2 magazines, and they're 9 rounds apiece. This is 9mm magazines. You can tell because of this little stripe that goes down, this indentation all the way up and down, so you don't get it confused with 45 ACP. Now let's go ahead and check the chamber, and the chamber's empty. Now the 1911 is a single action pistol, and honestly it is one of the safest guns to carry. I know a lot of the polymer frame striker fire pistols, the safe action, they are safe to carry. I carry them. But as far as really redundancy with safeties and yet easy to use, I feel like that the 1911 is really at the top of the list. And one of the big reasons is because even though it's single action, it has this beaver tail grip safety. Now let's talk about single action. I'm going to drop the magazine so we can manipulate the firearm. But bringing the slide back and charging around into the chamber with a full magazine, it brings the hammer into the rear position. And then you engage your frame safety. Now it's safe. But then you have this grip safety, and so I can depress my safety, and yet I can't fire the pistol unless I have a shooting grip on the pistol. And then I can fire the gun, and then subsequent shots until the magazine's empty will all be in single action. And so it's a very consistent pull of the trigger, and each round is consistent. And that's one of the big things about this over a double single action pistol. Typically that first round is long trigger pull and then followed by short trigger pulls. But really the grip safety is probably one of the biggest things, and there is a firing pin block as well in here. And again, but it's very natural and intuitive that when you want to fire this gun, it's not complicated. Just drop the safety. You've already engaged your safety here at the back, and you're ready to fire. And so, and one thing too is, guys, is carry one in the chamber. I've seen so many people with surveillance videos where they're not carrying one in the chamber, they rack it, and they don't quite get a full rack on the pistol, and they have a malfunction, and it costs them their life. Having one in the chamber with the hammer in the rear position and the safety on is cocked and locked, and I just highly recommend that you carry it that way. But as you can see, the safety is extended, and so it's going to be very easy not only to engage the safety, but to keep your thumb right here, and it gives you a better shooting grip on the pistol. It gets it really high up on the firearm. And with 1911, it has a very low bore axis, so that makes it really nice to shoot. It makes it a very low recoiling, less muzzle flip. Now we do have a commander style hammer, and it nestles into the high ride beaver tail. And so then you have a memory notch here, just allows you to know exactly where you have it. But one of the big things about this pistol are how thin these grips are. These are G10 grips. They have a grenade pattern on them, and they're super thin. I mean, when you grip it, it's a great feel to it. But really where you grip your gun for firing is your front and back strap. And so here we've got that same grenade pattern on the front, and yet we have the grenade pattern on the back, which this is an aluminum piece, which some are polymer, and I really like the aluminum. The slide serrations are wide, and it allows you to get a really good grip on this pistol. Now with 1911, your recoil spring is a little bit less than it is with the 45, so it makes it a lot easier to bring it back. But one of the things you'll notice is there are no front forward cocking serrations on the side of the slide, but you do have cuts right here that'll actually allow you to grab it and to do press checks, or for that matter, you could even rack the slide. But you will notice these cuts that are in the slide itself, and this lessens weight. It's on both sides, and it keeps it from that rounded dome shape that your standard 1911 has. This is something that a lot of custom guns go to. And again, you have your lightning cuts here. The top of the slide itself is serrated, so it's going to keep down glare. Your sights are excellent. Look at this new notch, and then you have that front bead, and it's actually a tritium bead, and it has a glowing orb. Actually, it's just a luminescent kind of circle around here to allow you to catch that sight really fast. And at the range, I really like this sight system. It does have a cocking shelf on the rear sight. These are metal, obviously, but this is important, especially for a fighting handgun. You want to have that cocking shelf there so you can actually load this pistol with one hand. The front sight is dovetailed in. Now, the original 1911s were staked in, and so this makes it a very nice way to be able to change these out pretty simply. But honestly, with this sight picture, I love it. And the bluing is absolutely beautiful. A lot of the newer guns are going away from the bluing. There's a lot of Cerakote finishes. Black nitride's really nice. I do like it. But there's something about that hot salt bluing that's just beautiful. And this definitely has that on the sides. And yet it's matte on the top. And so that keeps the glare down, but it makes it a really nice contrast. Beveled magwell allows for those magazines to go in really fast. And then the mag release. It's not extended, which honestly I like. You don't accidentally drop your magazine at the wrong time. But the magazines are high polished, and they do have bumpers on the end to keep them from getting damaged. But the fit to frame is exceptional. There is very little movement, if any, between the two. Just enough to make this reliable. But at the front is where it's the most important. And here with this full-length guide rod and the barrel mating up to slide itself, it's very little movement. Your barrel is crowned, and so that's going to protect your accuracy. You're not going to get dings on this as easily with it being recessed. And here we have a standard 1911 government model. This is a 70 series. It has been safety checked. You can see that it does have a barrel bushing, and then we have a guide rod spring plug right here. And this is much smoother action with the full-length guide rod. Also, to give you an idea of the safety, you have it just a curved safety. You have a tanged hammer. You have a nub for a grip safety. Guys, this makes a huge difference in getting your hand up on the pistol. And also, with this tang hammer, you can get slide bite if you have really large hands. For me, I don't have that problem, but that is one issue. Also, really thin slide serrations. Just combat style sights. The rear sight's dovetailed in, and then we have the front sight again, which is staked. But sight picture is very minimal compared to the beautiful sight picture of this Springfield. And there's a lot of other sights that are out there that are just excellent, but I do like these sights in particular. Of course, this is a Colt. It's a 70 series. It's absolutely a beautiful gun, and this is really in the configuration that served our U.S. military forces. Later on, when Special Ops started getting a hold of these, they really started upgrading, again, just to get that advantage of the different options that you can add to this. We do have a curved trigger guard here, where we have the squared off trigger guard on the Emissary. And then we have a curved trigger, and then we have a flat face trigger on the Emissary. We're going to take a good look at that in a minute. Again, a great handgun, and this is one of my favorite 1911s. But for a fighting handgun, I would pick this over that anytime. It does have the 4 1/4 inch barrel, which this does have the 5 inch barrel. And this is in 45 ACP. But if 45 ACP is really where you want to go, here is a full-size Emissary with a Picatinny rail, but yet all the other features are there. It does have a 5 inch barrel compared to the 4 1/4 inch barrel. But everything else is pretty much the same. So, you know, if you really want to go with that 45 and you like this design, then the standard Emissary is an excellent choice. But then again, Springfield Armory makes a number of different styles where you can find pretty much whatever you want to. Now with the Emissary Commander 9mm, it comes with 9-round magazines, but typically you can get 10-round magazines. I have a lot of Wilson Combat 10-rounders that work really well. But you have 9 rounds plus 1. With 45 ACP, you have 8 rounds plus 1. So with just a 8-round magazine versus a 9-round magazine, the 45 ACP gives you really some advantage, even though it's 1 less round. We're talking about 230 grains compared to, you know, up to 147 grain with some of your self-defense loads. But one of the things about the 9mm is it's just going to have softer recoil, less muzzle rise. It's just easier to shoot. But 45 ACP is going to give you superior ballistics, but yet with the self-defense loads that 9mm are offering, you can really get great ballistics with it as well. For me personally, I'm a big 45 ACP fan. I love shooting 1911s in 45. But with 9mm, it's definitely more of a pleasure to shoot. One thing with the 45 is it's more of a push or a shove. With the 9mm, it's more of a punch. And yet, honestly, it's very little recoil, especially when it comes to a full steel frame pistol. But that goes along with the 45 ACP as well. We're getting about 860 feet per second with a full metal jacket 45 ACP. We're getting about 1,200 feet per second with the 9mm in 115 grain. But again, there's a ton of different options out there, but I just wanted to give you a general idea. Now, 1911s are known for their triggers, and we're going to go ahead and bring the hammer back. I'm going to show you the action. Again, we have a flat face trigger, a little bit of take up right here, and a super crisp break, which 1911s again are known for. Then we're going to bring back for a reset right there, and then you're back on it. This is an excellent trigger. Let's check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 4 pounds, 0.7 ounces. 3 pounds, 14.9 ounces. Now, we really appreciate Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammo, all made in the USA, one of the largest suppliers of ammunition in the country. And we also thank Lula Loaders for saving our thumbs. Now, I'm a big fan of 1911. I've been shooting them for 40 years at least. I mean, for 1911, when I grab one, I feel like I'm coming home. Used to do a lot of competitive shooting with IPSC, with IDPA, really when the polymer frame striker fire pistols really started coming into the market. But I would always shoot 45 ACP. With the 9mm, it's so soft to shoot. And that's a big plus. A lot of people really enjoy 1911s because they're so thin, because they're very pointable, and again, because of just the legendary status that 1911 has. But I love the 1911 trigger. I mean, it is the best. I mean, it's so crisp, that single action trigger pull. It's just much better, obviously, than your striker fire pistols, but even double single action pistols. And that's one of the reasons why people have really stuck with the 1911 for as long as they have. Man, that is smooth. I mean, that really shoots. I love that thinness on that grip. Just allows it to really shoot. And those sights.
Yeah, those sights are awesome.
Those sights, man, that front sight, I mean, you just line it up. You see that front dot so easily, and it just nestles into that U. I've got this in the 45, and I'm a 45 guy, but this shoots really sweet. I like it. I'll give this an A+. Guys, the U-notch sights, I mean, they just really show up. That ring around the sight, whether it's bright sunlight or not, and then you have the tritium inside. So it gives you kind of the best of both worlds, which I really like. Now we're going to disassemble the firearm. There is a small tool. This is for your full-length guide rod, and it is in the package. Sometimes I have used paper clips. But what we're going to do is bring back our slide, and we're going to find this little notch. We're going to find that little notch right there, and we're just going to push out our slide release. And then just allow the slide to go forward. Now, sometimes I can do this with it still mounted, but this is the way that they're talking about it, and I think this is an easier way. Get on the guide rod and just push it forward until you see this little small hole right here, and then you put that small tool, the little L shape, in there. And then let it come back, just like that. And this is going to capture the recoil spring, and this is captive. It's a full-length guide rod. With the standard 1911s, the guide rod is only about this long. And so this is going to allow this spring to ride all the way up and down the guide rod. It's going to give it a smoother action, and it does. Now let's just bring our link down, and we're going to bring our barrel right out of the front of the slide. You can see that it is a bull barrel, and again, it's 4.25 inches in length, but it's really nice and thick. It is a match grade barrel, stainless steel, and these are just excellent barrels. We do have a polished feed ramp, and of course I have shot this one quite a bit, but it just holds up really well. The finish on the frame is excellent, and then of course in the slide, same thing, very well done. Of course we have shot this, and it's going to have a little wear right here from the chamber and the barrel hood, but that's just normal. Guys, that's all you need to do to field strip. To reassemble, just bring in your barrel. We're going to go through the front and bring back our link, and then we're going to place in our guide rod. This little area right here fits against your barrel. Again, we're going to take that recoil spring and we're going to compress it forward, and then we're just going to release our tool and then slowly return it back into that position, and it will get caught on that barrel link if you're not careful. Now your slide stop goes right through this barrel link. And so you want to be mindful of that as you bring your slide back over your frame. And then what I like to do is once I get it in position and I notice that the barrel link is in the right position, I'll just slide in my slide stop. Then I'm going to bring back the slide to where this little notch is in the correct position. And then you want to get that slide stop against that detent. So you're going to push it up and in just like that. And then you release it. If you scratch your frame, it's called an idiot scratch, so just don't do that. Let's go ahead and check, make sure that the gun is ready, and it is. It's a little more difficult or different than your polymer striker fire pistols, but once you get used to it, it's not a big deal. When it comes to pros and cons, one of the big things with the 1911 is it's just a proven design as a combat pistol. Now, modern warfare has definitely changed some things, and we have more capacity. So with a lot of the polymer frame striker fire pistols, even double single action, we have a lot of double stack magazines, a lot of round count, and that definitely counts for a lot. But a lot of people just enjoy carrying a 1911, and this is still a viable self-defense option. There's a lot of mystique around 1911s because they did serve the U.S. military for so long. But again, they are limited in round capacity. With this particular model, it does have the all stainless frame and carbon steel slide, and it is a full heavy firearm, all steel. And so that's going to add a little bit to it as well. But then again, guys, a lot of people just choose to have the 1911. Many choose to have the polymer frame pistols. And it's one of the things we're living in the golden age of firearms, guys. There are so many different choices, and what's right for you, you need to decide. For me, I typically carry polymer striker fire pistols for self-defense. I carry every day. But there's a lot of times that I will strap on a 1911 on my hip, and there's just something very comforting about that. Now, again, with this particular pistol being 1911, there's a lot of upgrades over your standard 1911s. With the sights, the high-ride beaver tail, these really thin grips, the excellent trigger, the wide slide serrations, this being a forged lower and upper with the barrel, the bull barrel, and the full-length guide rod make this a very smooth shooting 1911. And so there's a lot of pluses with this type 1911 over your standard 1911. Then again, 45 ACP may be your style as well, and obviously there's a lot of 1911s in those calibers, or 38 Super, whatever you choose. When it comes to price, the full-size Emissary manufacturer suggested retail is $1,275. I don't know the exact price of the Commander version. It could be a little less because you don't have the accessory rails. But market price will be less, and you can watch for that as these come out and become more available. So guys, if you're looking for a 1911 and you want something more than just your standard government model with just the basics, which I love this gun. This particular firearm is one that I've had for a number of years. Love shooting it. It's that classic design. But one of the things about the Emissary and other 1911s that are out on the market is with a lot of these different features, it just gives you advantages. And when microseconds can count in a self-defense situation. So while the Emissary is made for self-defense, it has a lot of custom features that are very practical. And again, we appreciate Springfield Armory for including us in the launch so we could go ahead and get a review out there when the gun's announced, when you guys want to see it, and we really do appreciate it. Rubber Dummies is one of the best training tools on the market, and you get a 10% discount using Sootch00 when you click the link down in the description. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. But one of the things about the 1911, again, is it could be a little less because you don't have the guide rod, because you don't have the and when it comes to pros and cons, okay. This is a brand new release. I'm not positive on the price. I don't have it written.
It's my Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. I can't find it.
Well, there's my Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. In those times when you need an Emissary, go with a 1911. There's definitely some appeal with the 45 ACP compared to the 9mm when you're looking down the barrel.